Welcome to another episode of Dungeons and Social Distancing, a special edition of a Nerdarchy video.
Today's video, it's cloudy with a chance of monsters in this killer D&D combo. Welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds. I'm Nerdarchy Steve, and as usual, I'm hanging out with this nerd.
Nerdarchy's Ted.
Hey, you won't need blindsight to find your next D&D video if you hit that subscribe button.
If you don't want to miss Nerdarchy talking monsters and spells, you're going to want to attune to that notification bell.
So at this point is where we mention, for some of you, you're probably tired of hearing it. If you're new to the channel or haven't watched in a while, you'll notice we're doing things a little bit differently. We are practicing dungeons and social distancing, which is us just trying to stay safe. My wife is autoimmune compromised, happens to be Ted's sister. And also, we just believe everyone should be following the CDC's guidelines, and we want you all to stay safe out there. So with that, we are going to jump into our video, but before we do got to thank the sponsors because they help us keep the lights on. D&D Beyond is such a great resource. It is a vast database of everything Dungeons and Dragons. There is so much content on there. It makes looking up information for building characters, writing campaigns, so much easier.
We love D&D Beyond for all of those great reasons, but if you are on the fence, you got to check out all of the free content. Whether you want to look at the videos, whether you want to look at the articles, or whether you want to just see the material that's in the SRD, like everything that we're going to be talking about in this video here, you got to check out D&D Beyond. We love it, we use it, and we highly think you should too.
Okay, so for this killer combo, the combination is the idea of putting out obscurement and monsters that it doesn't affect. There are a bunch of different spells that have obscurement effects, but they also, many of them have other effects. In this case, we're going to look at ones that have poisoning effects as well as fire damage effects. And you can combine this with certain monsters. They are completely unhindered, unhampered, but probably you can't say the same for your players. Now, again, when we get to the, further into the video, we'll talk about from the player side of things. Right now, we'll start from the Dungeon Master side of things. But we found there's a bunch of monsters that actually fall into these categories.
So there are 76 monsters that range from, challenge 0 to challenge 30 that have both blind sight and poison immunity. And there are 25 monsters that range from a challenge half to challenge 30 with fire immunity and blind sight. So when you begin mixing these, with these devastating spells, you are going to wind up creating challenges that are far deadlier than, just the monsters, would entail. So whether you want to mix these up with a spellcaster who is actually casting this spell or these spells, or, whether these are natural effects of the terrain, you can have some really nasty combos going.
They can even be magical traps. So at first level, we have the spell Fog Cloud. At third level, we have Stinking Cloud. At fifth level, we have Cloud Kill. And at eighth level, we have Incendiary Cloud.
So Incendiary Cloud is, we're going to deal with fire damage. Cloud Kill and Stinking Cloud are going to deal with poison. And Fog Cloud is just obscurement. So there, anything with Tremor Sense or Blind Sight could wind up working with that. Your Warlock with Devil Sight is not going to be able to see through the Fog Cloud. I know it's a very popular character build because it just obscures. Sorry, it's not darkness. You're not seeing through it. Do not pass go. Move on.
So our first level spell combined with a Twig Light. The Twig Light is a rather weak monster. It is only a challenge 1/8. So for I would say from third to first level characters, you can create a really challenging encounter for your players with a monster that is kind of weak.
It would be a lot of fun, and you have to gauge your numbers. These guys have the ability to see just fine through this area of obscurement, and you can really get into the nitty gritty and deadly combat with something that's really not all of that imposing.
And Fog Cloud is a spell that affects a 20-foot radius. Now you could just straight up use fog, or you could use the spell. You can disperse it with a moderate or greater speed wind, so we're going to talk about that in a little bit as well. Also, it's a spell that you increase, which makes the area of effect even bigger. Next up, we have Stinking Cloud. A Stinking Cloud, this could be pretty devastating because for as long as the players are in the Stinking Cloud, they have to make a con save or they are going to be retching, losing their action. And we found what we believe to be a great monster to pair up with this, which tends to punch a little bit above its weight class anyway.
and that's going to be your animated armor. I've used animated armors to devastating effect before with their obnoxious armor class. There are many times that players just don't hit. I've used a single one of these in a level 5 game, and it went on for rounds and rounds beyond what I thought it was going to, because the players just were rolling horrible. And sadly, it was one of those things where, like, well, it's the beginning of the session, I didn't want to use my high level spells yet, and therefore miss. I was dropping players, and it was like, am I going to kill them within the first half hour of the game? Is this going to be over with just a single monster? Thankfully, they managed to defeat it. But man, animated armors are tough. You start combining them with the great damaging or turn stealing effect of Stinking Cloud is bad.
Well, there won't be any damage, but it is turn stealing. And the fact that you're in obscurement means that the players are going to be at disadvantage for a lot of things. The monsters are going to be at advantage a lot of things. Animated armor already kind of punches above its weight. It's only a CR1, so I could definitely see using just a couple of these, on a 5th level party, and it's still creating a bit of a challenge for them because they're making those saving throws, having to make those saving throws. They can't see what's going on. The monster's getting advantage to attack. It could be a real nightmare for them. So next up, we have more of a kind of a boss monster with effect. So we have the spell of Cloud Kill, which, again, just like the other spells, it has that 20-foot radius, and, there's a poison effect. They're going to have to make con saves, but in this case, they're actually taking damage. They're taking 5 to 8 poison damage and half damage on a failed save, so they're just taking damage every round. And we thought a really nice monster to pair that up with would be a young green dragon.
Dave thought of this one, and like this, man, this is just brutal. The straight damage every round. I've used kind of things similar to this style where an effect is there doing damage every round, and it can go bad really quickly because, all right, what happens if somebody goes down and they're in the middle of it? Well, you got to take damage in order to go in to heal. Well, what happens if you fail your save and then you take more damage than you can? Now there's 2 people down. Somebody's got to do the healing with obscurement effects or whatnot. You can basically block it so that there's no way to see the bodies that are down. It just bad on bad on bad can just stack on top of each other. So you got to be careful when you're using these things. But if you're looking for deadly combos, these are definitely those.
That green dragon, that young green dragon, is only a CR8, and with these conditions, I feel like it could easily stand up to 10th level players. It would have a much better chance. And let's face it, dragon encounters are meant to be tough. They shouldn't be pushovers, and that is one of the reasons why I generally don't even use dragons in my game very often, because they're supposed to be these crazy powerful monsters, and the players make mincemeat out of them all the time. But if you use clever, tricky things of this nature, that's not going to be a problem. And I encourage it for these monsters because it's right in the name of the game. Dungeons and Dragons. They should be legendary monsters to be feared.
I absolutely agree. So next up, we're going to be looking at our next powerful combination. And for this one, we're going to be looking at Incendiary Cloud. And we're going to mix this up with a different monster type. We're going to pair this up with Ice Devil. So Dave will give you all the info on the spell, and I'll tell you all about the monster.
All right, so again, it's another 20-foot area that we're going to cover. And again, it's a damage effect. We're going to do fire damage. And we like the idea of this one because, we get the whole fire and ice theme going on. Our ice devils are going to be immune to it. So the players are going to have to make a dexterity saving throw every time they're in this cloud, or take 10 die fire damage and half of that on a failed save or a pass save.
So we're looking at pairing this up with Ice Devil. Now, this is a large fiend, so he's going to occupy basically a quarter of this particular area of effect. But he's got things that are really going to step things up. Number one, they've got the ability to drop a wall of ice. The wall is a foot thick and 30 foot long, 10 feet high, or it can be a hemispherical dome of up to 20 feet in diameter. So technically, he's got the ability to trap you in there with him, combining this the ice and fire all at once. So pretty crazy. The wall's going to do cold damage. The spell is going to do fire damage. Now, technically, if you really want to play things up, the fire might melt the wall of ice, but it is magic, so that is up to the DM to really determine how this is going to go. But the Ice Devil is immune to cold, fire, and poison, so feel free to layer any of these effects on it. So it's got a lot going for it. It's got double sight, so it can see in darkness as well. It's just a hard-hitting thing. In D&D Beyond, that is the standard Ice Devil, but there is a variant that does allow for the Ice Devil to summon up to another singular one. So feel free to use that killer combo by doubling things up if you think your party can actually manage two at once.
So now there's a couple ways that players can counter this combo. One of them is just a second level spell. Gust of Wind will disperse any of these clouds, whether it's the first level one or the 8th level one. Gust of Wind is super strong for that, but I also feel like it's a spell that not a lot of players take, so they might not have it. But if they do, absolutely reward them for being clever and having it, and that is going to suck up, their caster's action for getting rid of it. But, it'll be definitely a action well used for sure. Then also anything that gives you fire resistance for the Incendiary Cloud or immunity, or poison for the lower level spells is also going to be great for your players in order to make this combo not so killer.
But you've got the ability to use some of these same setups as the player. It might require, because of concentration effects, that you're doing it together as a team. One person conjures the effect, one person conjures the creatures. But Fog Cloud and Conjure Animals, if you use bats, centipedes, or crabs, if you use snakes or spiders, it's limited to 10 feet. But, you could still definitely get them into the thick of it and be able to deal with the adversary that might not be able to see through what's there.
For your Incendiary Cloud, your Conjure Elemental spells are going to kind of be your friends. And we kind of listed like the different spells. At 3rd level, your options are Summon Lesser Demon, Conjure Animals. 4th level, Summon Greater Demons, Conjure Minor Elementals. And 5th level, Infernal Calling, and also Conjure Elementals. So all of these spells are concentration, and some of them take a long time to cast. So in order to set them up, you would have had to done it before whatever battle that's coming. But if you have time to prep, this is a great ambush that you can set.
If you're looking for another combo idea, then you might want to check out Crazy D&D 5e Broken Combos right over there.
You can also listen to us talk about D&D in our Patreon-only live chats.
That isn't all we're creating. We're creating 5e content for both players and DMs to drop right in other games every month and more.
So until next time, stay nerdy.